Elvis Presley was with many women over the years. One of the actresses he spent some time with was Nancy Sinatra, the daughter of the legendary Frank Sinatra. But the king revealed in a private letter that his fear held him back from starting a relationship with her. Now you might be wondering why the rock and roll legend was afraid of Frank Sinatra. Well, if you want to know more, stick with us in this video as we reveal why Elvis Presley was scared of Frank Sinatra and why he wouldn't go near his daughter, Nancy Sinatra. Beginning as a teenage love and lasting into the 1970s, Elvis Presley's relationship with Priscilla Presley was a lengthy one that included marriage, but eventually ended in divorce. Despite this, the king of rock and roll spent a lot of time with other women along the road. He usually encountered them because of his film work in Hollywood. His affair with Anne Margaret, whom he met on Viva Las Vegas, was one of the most memorable. But he had been attempting to keep himself out of a serious relationship with Nancy, even before he met Anne Margaret. Gary Lindbergh's book, Letters from Elvis, described Elvis's complicated relationship. The information was exposed in private letters received to and from Elvis. In spite of Priscilla constantly being present, they disclosed that Nancy had been attempting to court the king for years. Nancy was even at the airport when Elvis returned from being stationed in Freiburg, Germany, after his draft in the United States Army ended in 1960. She had brought 2 linen shirts for the celebrity. "These are from my father," she said to Elvis in front of a swarm of media. Elvis was extremely nervous about the Sinatra family, despite Nancy being beautiful, powerful, and incredibly famous. Lindbergh, the author of Letters from Elvis, said that Elvis told Carmen Montez, his longtime hidden spiritual counsel, everything. The letter claimed that Elvis' reluctance to be with Nancy was caused by a hidden fear of Frank Sinatra. According to Lindbergh, Elvis was growing more and more afraid of Frank Sinatra's heavy-handed tactics and his connections to the mob. He wrote to Montez in a letter stating that he didn't want any trysts with Nancy because toying with Frank's daughter looked like playing with fire. Nancy, on the other hand, refused to give up. Regardless of how he felt about it, she remained a part of Elvis's life. They co-starred in the 1968 film Speedway. She even threw Priscilla a baby shower. She was active in almost every aspect of his life. He got tired of it quite quickly. Priscilla also confessed in her memoir, Elvis and Me, that she was jealous of Nancy, who seemed to spend a lot of time with Elvis. As time went on, Priscilla writes, "I became more and more resigned to the fact that Elvis was dating Nancy Sinatra and had completely forgotten about me." In another letter, Elvis informed Carmen that he intended to inform Nancy that he was homosexual in order to discourage her from pursuing his affection. He did, however, reveal that she would most likely try to persuade him that she could straighten him out. Elvis later told Carmen that he regretted choosing Nancy as a playmate, adding that he thought she was especially dangerous. Carmen claimed that he was afraid of creating enemies, especially those associated with the mafia. Together with his overwrought experience with Frank, the king had a complicated relationship. Frank was a very influential figure in the music business. Therefore, Elvis was very careful not to annoy him. He was also a frightening figure, due to his connections to the mob. Although this was the case, Sonny West, a member of Elvis's Memphis Mafia, speculated that Frank was envious of Elvis. West stated that, "I've always felt old Blue Eyes was just a little jealous of Elvis because he dared to steal the mantle of teen idol and usurp Sinatra's popularity." While Sinatra was the darling of millions of Bobby Soxers in the 1940s, according to Elvis' bodyguard, Elvis became the gold standard by which every entertainer was measured. That was all from Elvis' perspective. Now, what about from Nancy's own point of view? According to Nancy Sinatra, Elvis Presley and Nancy Sinatra never dated, although their relationship was filled with flirting. As the King and Nancy first met in 1960, He had just completed his military service, and her father had arranged for them to meet at Fort Dix when he got off the plane. Her renowned father, Frank Sinatra, meant she was not starstruck by the man, in the manner that many may have been, and a friendship evolved between them, before they starred opposite one another in the 1968 film Speedway. Elvis was lovely, Nancy stated of their meeting. What a great guy. What a sweet, polite, and wonderful man. He treated me as a good friend. Nancy delved a little deeper into the nature of their friendship on her website, claiming it was always platonic. He had a ridiculous, self-deprecating sense of humor, she continued. He made fun of himself, which is a very endearing quality to have. We did have fun, that's for sure. There was flirting, but just friendly flirting. Actually, we were like the Katzenjammer kids. She claimed they spent a lot of time together on the Speedway set, prior to which Elvis had recently married his wife, Priscilla. We used to ride a bicycle built for two around the studio, the MGM lot, Nancy added. Speedway was Elvis at his peak in his prime. He was beautiful. This movie and his comeback special were his zenith. I mean, how gorgeous was he then? Wow. Despite the fact that their friendship blossomed while he was married, Nancy told The Guardian that when his daughter Lisa Marie was born, he shared his happiness with her. He stated he was very grateful that she was born into a loving, secure life, she explained. He mentioned how he felt pain for the babies born that same night in poverty. I knew what he meant. Nancy felt a bond with him because of her father's accomplishment, and she recognized how great musicians, like everyone else, have flaws. I feel kind of sorry for folks who don't get Elvis, she wrote on her blog. A little more open-minded study, and they would discover a fabulous soul who contributed plenty to the history of American music. He was the best at what he did, and like Frank, there will never be another to equal him. I treasure him. You will never know how much I miss him. Despite not having a romantic relationship with Elvis, Nancy married twice, though she'd stated that she would have remained unmarried if sex outside of marriage had been accepted in her day. I was old-fashioned, she claimed about her first marriage to pop star Tommy Sands in 1960. I married while still a virgin. Both of us were far too young. You figure it out, don't you? I made the stumbling block. Had I had a sexual life prior, I would not have married. In those days, you got married to have sex, sadly. After her divorce from Tommy in 1965, she married her second husband, Hugh Lambert, in 1970, and lived with him until his death in 1985. She and Hugh had 2 children, Angela, or AJ, and Amanda. Quite interesting to know the reason behind the king's fear of Frank Sinatra, don't you think? It's also amusing to learn that despite Elvis's various rejections, Nancy was relentless. However, based on her perspective, it didn't seem like Elvis pushed her away at all. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.